My name is Dr. Deepak Chopra. We are at Lake Nona, where we have the yearly forum on human potential and health and well-being. This is the new home of both Chopra Global and Chopra Foundation. And we're very fortunate to have a very distinguished luminary in the world, influencing millions of people's lives and helping alleviate suffering, not only for human beings, but for the planet. So it's a great privilege and honor to welcome him. And also, as you know, Sadhguru has a new book, Karma, a Yogi's Guide to Crafting Your Destiny. I can only read the chapter headings for you to see the wealth of information that you might glean from here. So part one is about what is karma, the eternal enigma, about choice, volition. Karma is memory, the great karmic warehouse that we all have behind our personal karma. How did it all begin? And then Sadhguru goes deeply into karma yoga and the physical body, karma yoga and the mental body, karma yoga and the energy body. And then the third part is about karmic conversations. There are lots of very interesting, what we might call sadhana exercises. And Sadhguru uses the great ancient technique of sutras, which are encapsulated sentences, ideas. The word sutra is related to the English word suture. Suture, sutra, stitch. So sutras are stitches in consciousness. They're part of the great tradition, wisdom traditions of the East, particularly in the non-dual traditions of India. Sadhguru's created his own sutras. So with one little sutra, you can get a glimpse into the multi-dimensionality of wisdom contained in one or two sutras. So before we carry our big conversation, Sadhguru, I'm so honored, so privileged, so privileged. This book is very revolutionary because people talk about good karma, bad karma points, all of that. But what you're saying is karma is the ultimate validation of freedom and choice, and that each of us inhabits a universe of our own creation. Tell us a little bit what people can glean from this so they don't depend on God or something outside themselves.
Namaskaram, Deepak, and it's fantastic to be here in this visionary space where in many ways probably many more spaces need to come up like this in the world. In many ways, this is the future of the world, where there's a conglomeration, not just of money and power, but conglomeration of ideas and research and possibilities. So, it's wonderful to be here. Coming to karma, you were talking about sutra. Well, as you know, Yoga Sutras and various other sutras, the word sutra literally means a thread, which is related to stitch and suture, of course. So when you give a thread, like you can wear a garland, nobody wears a garland for its thread, but without a thread, there is no garland. Once you have the thread, you can add flowers to it, you can add mud beads to it, you can add pearls to it, you can add diamonds to it. It depends on your experience of life. So, but the sutra cannot change because without the thread, there is no mala or there is no garland. So, this is… it is a multi-layered book in such a way that each person, when they read it, it will relate to them as it's relevant to them. But as they evolve in their life, if they read it today and read it after 5 years, it'll be a different book. If they read it after 20 years, it'll be a completely different book. So, we took a certain amount of… normally most of the 120 and odd books that have been published, largely there's what I have spoken in variety of situations, somebody puts it together and publishes a book. This is among the first few books. The first one was in engineering and this one, and there's a book on death, which we released only in India. These are three books where I actually sat down and worked on it. Otherwise, they're just compilations of talks. So in that sense, I wanted to create a multi-layered book so that it'll be relevant through your life. You can read it many times. Every time you read it, it'll be like a new book. Because first time you might have just had tiny little weed flowers, next time you may have roses, next time you have… it's your own experience of life. So having said that, well, the karma as a fundamental principle of life, people are thinking it's a concept. It is not a concept. See, who we are is a product of the memory that we carry in our body. Now, this is a human body. Why? There is evolutionary memory to say this is human body. This is my body. Why? Because there is genetic memory to say this is this kind of body. Like this, there are many layers of memory. We usually in yoga, we identify 8 significant forms of memory. It's all this amalgamation of this complex web of memory which makes you who you are, which makes me who I am, which makes everybody who they are. So, memory is a great possibility. Without it, we wouldn't be nothing. The richness of our life is only because of the vividness and vastness of memory that we carry in our lives. At the same time, memory is also a boundary. If you are in my memory, I say, oh, this is my friend. If you are not in my memory, I say, oh, this is a stranger, okay? So memory is a great possibility. At the same time, memory is also a boundary that you set. So this memory bank which is in complex varieties, which all of it may not be something that you can pull out and articulate or remember, but it is playing a role in the very way you sit, the very way you stand, your genetic memory is playing its role. If you see somebody walking half a mile away, if you know the person, just the way they're moving their hand, out of the 7 billion people, you can recognize, this is my friend, all right? Because there is a unique way his body moves, because of the kind of amalgamation of memory that he has within himself, he or she has. So based on this memory or this karma as we call it, karma means accumulated memory of variety of kinds. It goes far beyond one's logical understanding of life. But at least from the point of our understanding, from the moment you are born to this moment, everything that you have done in terms of action, thought, emotion and energetic fluctuations, all of that is remembered within this. All that is determining the characteristic of who you are. Now this memory, if it works like a platform or a stage for you to stand upon and do your dance of the day, it's fine. But for most people, because there is not enough surface tension on their karmic body, now when they put their foot there, it sinks in. So past lives now. People are suffering what happened 10 years ago. And because this happens, this memory projects itself as imagination and they're able to suffer what may happen day after tomorrow already. So this human suffering is essentially a consequence of your inability to handle your memory. Your inability to handle your memory also means it's your inability to handle your basic faculties of vivid memory and fantastic imagination. Once you don't have these two things, once you start suffering this, you will start reducing it in some way. Knowingly or unknowingly, you start pushing it down. If these two things go away, you're not even human.
So, as I was reading your sutras and just now as I was listening to you, in the Shiva Sutras, Lord Shiva says, I use memories, but I don't allow memories to use me. Which is exactly what you're saying. Selective freedom.
This is the problem with him, he said everything that I want to say.
No, no, but you said it. You said it so beautifully. That
I'm saying he's already said it, that's the problem.
But Shiva recycles, right? That's part of the karma as well. Sutras, do they give us a window to break through this karmic memory bank, which you say there's allotted memory and then there's something which is much bigger, which is the unconscious mind, which actually could be the memory of the entire collective consciousness going back eons of time, human ancestors, animal ancestors. I was looking one day at my hand and I realized I can't even move my hand unless my ancestors are present here, because their genes are here and they're activating everything I'm experiencing. So that memory goes back to the beginning of the universe or the beginning of life.
Definitely beginning of life.
Well, the atoms and molecules came from stars.
There is elemental memory, but I'm not generally talking about it because today's world will think I'm crazy.
It doesn't matter.
I'm leaving elemental memory, I'm starting with evolutionary memory. But there is elemental memory. But leaving that aside, see now, there is a certain dimensions of our intelligence which all function with this variety of memory within us. But there is another dimension of intelligence which is unsullied by memory. This we refer to as chitta in yoga. So there is an intelligence within you which is unsullied by memory. It's only when you touch this, you will experience life the way it is. Otherwise, your memory is always giving you its own filter. It is filtering out many things and telling you what you need for your survival. All this memory bank from the time of amoeba to now, all this memory is stored like this and it's banked up like this because this is the basis of our survival. If that amoeba experience is not there, our cells will not know how to survive. If the experience of the monkey is not there, we will not know how to do certain things. So everything that we know as survival, our ability to survive, is because of this enormous amount of memory. But once you have come as a human being, survival is not good enough. It doesn't matter how well you survive, you will be longing to do something else. Whoever you are right now in the world, whatever you are, you still want to be something more. If that something more happens, something more. If that happens, something more. So if you go like this, suppose, not you, let's say we will make him the king of this planet, you think he will be fulfilled? He will look at the moon. If I say, okay, you take the moon, you think he will be fulfilled? He wants the solar system. We give it to him. Then he'll look at the galaxies. I give him one galaxy. Will he keep quiet? No. So there is something within a human being which does not like boundaries. It wants to expand limitlessly. But you are trying to expand yourself to your infinite nature through physical means. But the nature of physicality exists only because of defined boundaries. If there is no defined boundary to your body, you're not even a physical body, all right? So it is a
chitta, right? That is chitta. No fluctuation, no vritti at all.
Yes, there is no vritti because there is no memory. The defined boundary is the basis of your physicality, of everything that's physical. But there is something within you which is longing to break all boundaries all the time. That means there is something within you which is non-physical in nature, which is trying to find its expression. What is non-physical has no memory. Because it has no memory, it has no boundaries. Because it has no boundaries, you can call it genuinely non-physical.
So here is my slight dilemma when I look at modern science. Today…
modern science, they're not slight, there are lots of dilemmas.
Lots of dilemmas. This is the very interesting dilemma when it comes to karma. Current science tells us that there are 2 trillion galaxies. We live in the Milky Way galaxy, which has 100 billion stars. Current science also tells us there are 700 sextillion stars. I don't even know how to write that. And current science tells us that there are trillions of possibly habitable planets, 60 billion habitable planets just in the Milky Way galaxy. Forget the 2 trillion other galaxies. So here we are, a biological organism called Homo sapiens, human being, in a speck of dust, which would not be the equivalent of 1 grain of sand in all the beaches of the world. This particular body-mind system, how does it have access to this knowledge somewhere on a speck of dust in what is now becoming the junkyard of infinity?
See, if you touch this dimension of intelligence, which is beyond memory, you have touched everything in the universe. Maybe not intellectually, it is not as information, but as an experience. So this is what is the word yoga is trying to conceptualize, union. A union has happened because your individual memory shell has been broken. Your intelligence has touched a status where there is no memory. Once you touch that, it has no boundary. What has no boundary is naturally everywhere and it touches everything. Experientially, you touched everything. Do you know everything in terms of intellect? No, it's like now you've been walking me through these buildings. Let us say there is one building here with 10,000 rooms. He is the CEO. Does he know, has he seen all the rooms? No, but he may have a master key, that he can enter any room he wants. But in his life, will he see all these 10,000 rooms? No. The cleaning woman will enter probably 25 rooms at a time. The manager will enter 100 rooms probably, floor manager. Another guy will look at something else. The CEO may see only 1 or 2 rooms, but he's got a key. So this is all it means. If you touch that dimension of intelligence which is beyond memory, this does not mean you have seen everything. But if you have the time and the inclination, you can see because you have the key.
So Sadhguru and I were speaking this morning and he mentioned what probably a lot of you know, that the difference between a primate and a human being is 1.3% or something in terms of genetic information. That's the only difference,
1.23.
1.23. And by the way, you should know that 65% of your genes are the same as a banana. 70% of your genes are the same as a fruit fly. 80% of your genes are the same as a mouse. So that is part of our genetic memory also, that what you call the wholeness of memory, the memory bank.
See, that's a whole thing. Physiologically, we are that close to all these creatures that we think is nothing. A fruit fly, chat, it's over, all right? Physiologically, that's how close we are. But in terms of our intelligence and awareness, we are worlds apart from these creatures. That is what humanity is suffering right now. They are not able to handle this intelligence because they have an intelligence for which they don't have a stable enough base to employ this intelligence. So most people are bashing themselves in the face with their intelligence. See, whether you bash yourself in the face with your hand or you torture yourself with your own thought and emotion, I don't see what's the difference.
Sadhguru has been talking about inner engineering, and now he's taking us to a new level of understanding how to break through the prison of karma, which is also the prison of memory, sanskara, vasana, however you call it. These sutras are actually the keys. They're the master keys to different mansions in this storehouse of infinite energy, information, knowledge and wisdom. And I really suggest that you pick up the book, get a deeper understanding, not only of all the keys to these mansions, but the master key that opens every room. You know, I'm going to take the liberty of quoting another religion, Jesus Christ. He says, "In my Father's house, there are many mansions." And this is exactly what you were saying. There are so many mansions, and the sutras are the key. So don't miss this opportunity to get the key to freedom. Thank you, Sadhguru.
Thank you.
Very
Namaskaram.
much.
Thank you very much.